The Swiss Alps or the Italian Alps? The BERNER Oberland versus the Dolomites. I'm going to give you my thoughts on which one I like better.
In this video, I'm going to do something difficult, and that is compare two places side by side that I really love. First up are the Swiss Alps, and specifically the BERNER Oberland region. That's the region around Interlaken. It includes Grindelwald and also the Lauterbrunnen Valley. Now, I'm going to be comparing and contrasting the Swiss Alps to the Italian Alps, and specifically the Dolomites range, which is a large region in northeastern Italy. As the crow flies, these places are about 200 miles away from each other. That's just over 300 kilometers. It would take you about 8 hours to drive from one area to the other. They're really not that close. Different country, different language, different culture. Yes, it's true, they're both technically part of the greater European Alps, but in reality, they're very different. I'm going to compare and contrast these two places based on accessibility, language, food, activities, affordability, and scenery. I'm obviously giving my opinion through the lens of a tourist, and specifically as someone who is traveling with a larger family. Let's talk about accessibility, and specifically if you are coming from outside of Europe. I think the Swiss Alps have an edge here. If you're going to the Interlaken region, you fly into either Zurich or Geneva, and you're looking at a 2-hour drive after you fly in. But both of those airports are huge. They have millions and millions of passengers each year. You can find international flights to either Zurich or Geneva very easily. If you want to see the Dolomites, your best option is to fly into Munich and rent a car. It's a 3-hour drive south of Munich to the Dolomites. You can also fly into Venice, and if you're lucky, maybe Innsbruck, Austria. But even Innsbruck, much smaller airport, you're probably not going to find international flights, and it is still a 90-minute drive. So in my opinion, the Dolomites are just not quite as accessible for international tourists. Let's talk about language. In this region of Switzerland, they speak Swiss German, which is a softer variation of German, less guttural, a little more sing-songy. It sounds nice, but really everybody speaks English. You're going to have no trouble getting around here because English is understood and spoken by virtually everyone. Now in the Dolomites, they speak Italian, as you would expect. And Italian is, in my opinion, a much more beautiful language than any variation of German. But here in the Dolomites, as in the rest of Italy, English is understood and spoken by most, but not all. It's a little bit harder to communicate than it is in Switzerland. So I give Switzerland a slight edge here. Let's talk food. When it comes to cuisine, Switzerland does an okay job. They've got some good cheese, you get some fondue, but let's face it, in reality, this is a slam dunk. Italy wins in a landslide. The pizza, the pasta, the fine dining, you can't go wrong with Italian cuisine. And so if you're judging these two locations based on the food you're going to eat when you're there, not even close. Italy wins hands down. Let's talk about activities. If you come to either location, the Dolomites or the BERNER Oberland, and it's wintertime, it's all about skiing. There's multiple different resorts and plenty of different opportunities to go skiing. Of course, we came during the summer months, and so we made different plans, but I was surprised at how many activities there were. You're going to want to explore the mountains, and you're going to do some hiking while you're here, but you're also going to take any number of cable cars or funiculars, aerial trams, or gondola lifts. There are so many of them. A lot of times you buy a ticket for a day. Sometimes you have to buy an individual ride, and it may cost you anywhere from 10 euros to 50 euros, depending upon what you want to do. You want to go to the top of the Schildhorn or the Jungfrau in Switzerland, it's going to cost you more. Same with the cicada that you see here in the Dolomites. Definitely do your research and plan on spending a little bit of money, because some of the best hikes and the best views are accessible only by lift. There are so many other activities beyond just hiking and exploring the mountains and riding the lifts. In Switzerland, most of my kids went paragliding, and that was a great experience for them. We produced a video that's on YouTube if you want to see more of that. Meanwhile, in the Dolomites, we took a day and went river rafting as a family. This was a really fun activity that everybody enjoyed. The rafting company had everything, including all the equipment, ready for us, and they shuttled us to and from the locations. Now, the water levels were quite low when we went, so they did have to separate us into two different rafts with separate tour guides, but still an amazing experience. In the end, I think this is a draw. Both the Italian Alps and the Swiss Alps offer so much and so many activities. Gotta be a tie. Let's talk for a minute about affordability. Anybody who's been to Switzerland knows that it is just an expensive place. And you're not even on the euro, you're using the Swiss franc in Switzerland. Whereas Italy, much more reasonable, especially the Dolomites, I found to be much less expensive than Switzerland. Now, it doesn't mean it's cheap. It's nothing like you'd find like in Latin America, but much less expensive to travel, stay in a hotel, dine out, or do most any other activity in the Dolomites compared to Switzerland. Last but not least, let's talk about the scenery and compare the overall beauty of both the Swiss Alps and the Italian Alps. I think that this is hard to do, and I realize it is completely subjective. Everybody has their own opinion. Believe it or not, we put it to a vote in my family of which are the more beautiful, the Dolomites or the Swiss Alps. And it was a close call, but the Swiss Alps won just by a little bit. That said, my vote would be for the Dolomites. I think on the whole, they are more beautiful because they're more unique. The Dolomites typically have these pine-covered foothills and then these huge rock spires. It's a unique geology, and they're more unique mountains, whereas the Swiss Alps remind me a lot of other places in the Rocky Mountains, in New Zealand, and elsewhere where you have snow-covered peaks and glaciers. Now, the Swiss Alps are much taller than the Dolomites. You're looking here in the distance at Mount Eiger, which tops out just over 13,000 feet, whereas the tallest mountains in the Dolomites are less than 11,000. One thing I did love about the Dolomites is there are a lot of roads and highways going up and around and through the mountains. Who knows, you might even see a Ferrari. It's not to say there aren't any roads or overlooks in the Swiss Alps, but there just seem to be more of them in the Italian Alps. The Dolomites feature a lot of fun roads to drive on and a lot of different places to stop and take in a view. All this being said, as much as I love the Dolomites, and as many times as I tell people, yes, they are even more beautiful than the Swiss Alps, I still think the most beautiful spot is the Lauterbrunnen Valley. It is tough to beat 1,000-foot cliffs with cascading waterfalls and a backdrop framed in with that Swiss architecture. Let me just sum this up. If you're talking about accessibility, particularly if you're coming from outside of Europe, and also if you're talking about language, looking for a place that has a lot of English speakers and communicating is going to be easy, I would say the Swiss Alps have the edge. Meanwhile, if you're talking about affordability and definitely the food, Italy is going to have the edge. The Dolomites win on those. As far as activities and scenery, both of these places have plenty to offer and are absolutely stunningly beautiful. They should both be on your bucket list.